could still teach our students speaking skills considering the current setup. I know all of us here are very much enthusiastic about the things that we will be learning in this afternoon's session. To officially welcome us to this event, let us all welcome the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences Education, University of Mindanao, to give the welcome remarks, Dr. Christine Marie D. Concepcion. A round of virtual applause, please.
Hey, administrators, faculty members, students, guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is our sixth among the series of webinars at the University of Mindanao and the Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya is conducting. This series contains relevant topics that are research-based for the benefit of our participants. I hope that you'll gain valuable information and insights in this afternoon's topic. We are living in a multimodal teaching and learning environment where texts and learning resources for teaching English language learners necessitate the use of technology, especially at this time of COVID-19 pandemic. Language learning requires repetition, reinforcement, correct practice, and progression on its practical use. Processes involved in these stages contribute to the successful acquisition and learning of the target language for most of our students. Technology as a dynamic tool provides avenue for varied multimodal text and resources that could support language learning by captivating the interests of our students. Spark of interest is one of the keys in successful learning. Although technology-related challenges and limitations for both teachers and students are evident, this could be addressed by facilitating series of trainings and hands-on exercises in order to equip the teachers in the preparation of language resources anchored on pedagogical framework, careful creation of language content and strategies, and highly contextualized approaches, considering the richness of culture of a language learner. The learner, on the other hand, could also be acquainted in a meaningful and interactive language learning tools that shall enhance their learning and use of the English language. In this light, this afternoon's webinar shall prepare the participants understanding on how multimodal resources could effectively be used in facilitating the teaching of the English language and in maximizing learning of the target language using technology in the process. I hope that this afternoon shall be productive and meaningful as you actively participate in the process. Once again, welcome to everyone and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Concepcion, for that inspiring opening message. Both of our host schools of this collaborative lecture series are definitely committed to providing the best learning opportunities despite all the pedagogical challenges that we across the globe have been experiencing. Without a doubt, the partnership in this online lecture series of these two universities, and UBJ, is a manifestation of how both aspire to continually provide progression in the field of language teaching. And this afternoon, we will be listening to an online lecture which will help us better understand how technology-enhanced language learning, or TEL, can be used in teaching speaking skills. Just a gentle reminder to all our participants in this online platform, if you have questions, please do not hesitate to type them in this platform's chat box. Later, I will read each one of them for the speaker to answer. Fellow academics and learners, it is my honor to introduce our speaker for this online event. She is a TESOL certified educator, a TOEFL IBT coach, and has an international professional proficiency level in TOEIC. She has been an ESL, EFL teacher to Asian and European learners for 13 years now and has a 10-year university teaching experience. She has also been serving as a teacher trainer since 2009. Her research interests include language learning and teaching. In fact, her master's thesis focused on the factors influencing grammatical competence with variables including language learning beliefs, teaching methods, and study process. For her PhD dissertation, which she is currently writing, she will be conducting a further exploration of her master's research with focus on exploratory sequential factor analysis of linguistic competence. Our speaker has a Bachelor of Arts in English degree from the University of Mindanao and a Master of Arts in English degree from the Ateneo de Davao University. At present, she is in her dissertation writing for the degree of PhD in Education, major in Applied Linguistics at the University of Immaculate Conception. Ladies and gentlemen, the program head of the EB English Language Program, University of Mindanao, Philippines, Associate Professor Precious T. Mongcal. Ma'am, the virtual proceedings are yours now.
Good afternoon. Salamat siyang. Hello, everyone. I am very glad to be here. Give me a few minutes, a few seconds to share my screen. And there you go. Yes, so salamat siyang. Nama saya Precious Mongcal. Pekerjaan saya dosen. Senang bertemu dengan Anda. I hope I said that correctly. But to the administration, faculty, and students of Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya, to the administration, faculty, staff, and students of the University of Mindanao, of course, to the rest of our participants from the many parts of the Philippines, of Indonesia, and even other parts of the world. Good afternoon to all of you. I am very glad, and in fact, I am very grateful to be given this wonderful opportunity to speak with you about a topic that I personally think is very timely. It's very interesting, and I hope that we would all agree that this is very helpful, not only to the educators or the teachers, but to all of us, okay? All of us as learners wanting to improve ourselves in the English language. I said all of us are learners because I think and I believe improving our skills in English, in the English language, people would also call it upskill or upskilling. Others would say upgrading our ability, our proficiency, our competence in the English language, to me, is a lifetime journey. There is no stopping. Would you agree? There is no reaching the summit. I actually think there is no summit. There is no end in learning and getting better in English and in communication. Even more so today, right? When we can say that with great conviction that our language classrooms have changed a great deal. There is no argument with that. How we communicated 2 years ago or so before the pandemic happened is definitely different from how we communicate today. If we come to think of it, if we go back to the past 2 years ago or so, we would all agree that it was difficult for teachers, okay? It was difficult to have our students speak in English in our classrooms before the pandemic, when we can just, tap them on the shoulder, tell them to speak. How much more now when we get in our classrooms and all we see are what? Profile pictures and muted microphones. But I believe that today I will be a bearer of good news. That's my claim. We can turn this seemingly difficult setup to our advantage. And I'll be doing my best, okay, the best I can, to show you this wonderful news. So what we'll be talking about today is good news. This will be good news. So going back to my slide, I'll be speaking to you about improving speaking skills through telling. I think many of us already have an idea as to what telling means, okay? In our invitation, in the activity poster, we included what tell is. And just so that everybody would be reminded, tell means technology enhanced language learning. I will be going into that, deeper into that later. as I continue with my presentation. For now, allow me to present to you the structure of my talk. So I'll begin with the problem. Okay, we will be talking about the difficulties, the challenges faced by everybody today. Second, we will be looking at the context, okay, the change in our educational landscape. As I've said earlier, we would all agree that there is change. In fact, the change for many of us is very great. And thirdly, I'll walk you through the resources. I think for many of us, this would be like the most exciting part. So I hope that everybody would hang on until the end of our session this afternoon. So in the third part, I'll be showing you that what we actually need are the whole time just under our noses. So I'll show you what these are and how we can use them in our language classrooms, of course, for learners, how we can use them to improve ourselves in speaking the English language. If you can see, there's the problem, there's the context, there are the resources. Where is the solution? I will be leaving that for all of you to figure out. I'm sure you'll easily figure it out as we go on with our sharing this afternoon. Okay, so let's begin with the problem. There is a problem, right? For teachers, we may summarize the problem for us into this question: how do I get my students to speak? Again, if it was difficult in the past, in the traditional classroom, many may say that it's even more difficult now. And for our learners, for all of us as learners, we may summarize the problem with the question, how do I get these words out? I saw a very interesting analogy of this problem of many of our learners when somebody compared it to the wonderful ideas, okay, inside our heads. It's like driving a Ferrari, driving a luxurious car. It's wonderful. But when we try to translate these ideas into words, into the English language, it's like having a car crash. It's just terrible at times. And so we shall be looking at many strategies and helpful tools that we can use to overcome the car crash. Okay. Moving on. Now, we now know the problem that we shall be dealing with, that we are dealing with every day in our language classrooms. Now let's go back to TEL, to technology-enhanced language learning. Okay, according to Amadi in 2018, he said that TEL is the use of technology in language teaching and learning. Learners must use technology as a significant part of the learning process. So what this is suggesting is that technology must be a significant part in the process of learning language. It has to be part of the learning process. And to do that and intensify technology as being part of the learning process, teachers should model, okay? We are the models. Teachers should model the use of technology to support the curriculum. Now, let me stop there because there is another problem. Maybe not all of us are facing this, but there are some, if not many, who are facing the problem of adapting to the technology that we have to use nowadays. As we shifted to the online mode of delivering our lessons in our classrooms, many have difficulties in, using, for example, the laptop, navigating in different platforms, in different learning management systems. That's both for teachers and students. But more of the challenge actually lies on the shoulders of teachers, because we're supposed to be modeling the use of technology so that in turn, students would be encouraged to have technology as part of their learning process. Now, why? Why might there be many teachers who, given, well, I think we're already on the second year now of the shift to the fully online mode of learning, but many are still struggling with technology, as I shall be getting to that in a while. There are two approaches in the integration of technology in our classrooms. Okay, this is according to Warschauer in 2001. The first one is called cognitive approach. This is when we increase the learner's meaningful exposure to language so that they are able to make their own knowledge. Okay, we increase their exposure to the language, and then they are making meaning. They are making their own discoveries about the language. That's the cognitive approach. The second is providing opportunities for authentic social interactions to practice real life skills. We are to give opportunities for authentic social interactions. Now you might say, how can we provide authentic social interactions when, in fact, when we get inside our teleconference meeting, for example, as I've said earlier, we only see static pictures, profile pictures, and muted microphones. Some will be opening their videos, yeah. Others will be participating in the discussion, but majority are quiet. We do not know what's going on the other side of the line. Are they sleeping? Are they listening? Are they posting on Facebook? How do we provide these opportunities? This can be possible through the integration of technology. I hope you're as excited as I am as we uncover how this can be possible for our language classrooms. Okay, now, because of the integration, the need to make technology a significant part of the learning process, Golfshan and Tafazoli in 2014 said there must be a shift, okay? The shift from teacher-centered to learner-centered methods. Okay, we've been saying this decades and decades ago, that language classrooms must be learner-centered and not teacher-centered. But then we go back to our classrooms as teachers and take the center stage. Am I the only one who's guilty? For learners, on the other hand, we encourage them, for example, to participate, to use language, to take the center stage. And most of the time, they would find themselves at the back, quietly observing everything, hoping not to be called so that they would not have to speak. But there is a need for shift. And it would be technology that would make this easy for us. Okay, now you can see on the screen now some of the famous apps and software that we have. I would love to have you interact with me using the chat box. So can you name some of these that you know or that you are using in not only in your classes, but maybe in your everyday life? I'd like to pause for a while and go back to our screen and see our chat box. Wow, thank you. I have wonderful participative audience. This is great. Okay, yes, Instagram, Messenger, Gmail, Facebook. All right, Netflix, WhatsApp, yes, everything. Okay, YouTube, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so we have Gmail here, WhatsApp, of course, Facebook. Who would not know Facebook, right? Everybody is on Facebook now. We have Google Chrome, YouTube, we have Facebook Messenger, Netflix. I think many, especially of our young people, not only, okay, but most of our young people are on Netflix, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, these are some of the many. In fact, somebody said in the chat box earlier, everything. Some of the many apps that we now use almost every day, every second of the day. Okay, which means that these applications are only some of the many available resources we have that we can use and integrate in the classroom. Well, with all of these technology, all of these apps, all of these advancements, is it possible? Okay, I'll be posing a question here. Will technology ever replace teachers? Let's see now some answers in the chat box again. Will technology ever replace teachers? No, okay. Many are answering no, never, all right? No, but if you come to think of it, for example, our students now who are, born in the digital age, 10 years from now, 10, 15 years from now, inside our classrooms will be the generation alpha. They are better than us in the navigation of technology. In fact, there are people calling YouTube the YouTube University. Okay. Somebody said, ha, 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 no. Okay. No, no, no. Somebody said possible. Okay. Somebody said, but more are saying no. Okay. We have somebody who's half no, half yes. Okay. Possible. All right. Well, I'd like to tell you that the answer to this question can dictate so much how we use technology and maximize the use of technology in our classrooms. If we are convinced that technology later on will be replacing teachers, then we might have apprehensions, we might have doubts in exposing our students to technology. Well, my answer to this question is no. It's also a no. And you will find that out and be more convinced later as we go along that technology is great, advancement is great, but never will it replace our teachers. Now, okay, so we will not be replaced by technology. So we have to give up the traditional way of handling our language classes. And that's what we would like to call the chalk and talk. You might argue perhaps that that would not be possible anymore now because there are, well, we don't use the chalkboards anymore because we're in Google Meet or Zoom or in Microsoft Teams, for example, or in Skype. So there's no chalk and talk. You're wrong. Many are still doing the traditional chalk and talk when the teacher, just like what you're seeing in the picture, takes the center stage. Okay, again, there should be a shift. And so we have to give up the chalk and talk. Do not be scared to be replaced. It does not mean that if you give up the center stage, then they would realize you're useless. And so they would not need you anymore. That's false. Okay, you will still be the designer of your classroom. You plan how things will be in the class. It is you as a teacher who knows exactly the needs of your students, not technology. That's why we call it TEL, technology enhanced. Language learning is only enhanced by technology. And so teachers are not replaced. And so don't be afraid to give up that center stage. Okay? Instead of taking over the center stage most of the time, let's embrace what I'd like to call, instead of chalk and talk, I'd like to call it guide and hide method. This is a shift from manipulating to facilitating, from being the expert to being the support. Okay, if you look at this image that I'm using on the slide, our students are very good in navigating the virtual world. And so let them be. Let them discover things, be their guide, lead them into the correct path and how they should use technology to improve their skills, especially their speaking skills, and then hide in the background. Just monitor them. Are they doing it correctly? Give them feedback. You don't have to be at the center stage to be able to manifest how good you are as a teacher. You can guide and hide using technology. Next, now let's go to our next part, the context, okay? The context for the current educational landscape. Well, as I've said earlier, there has been a great change in the educational landscape, not only in language learning, not only in the learning of the skills in the English language, but of course in everything that we're learning. I'm not sure in Indonesia, but in the Philippines, our schools are still closed. Everybody has to go online, okay? And in the online mode, people are posting, people are tweeting, emailing, online shopping, online booking, Googling, uploading, downloading, installing, liking, meeting, video calling, and all other new activities which did not or were not so familiar before, but now are part of the new normal. We can actually say the now normal. Everything is online. There is a change, a great change in the educational landscape. This is now the internet age, okay? This is learning in the now normal. Everybody is online. I cannot even imagine existing now, from the age of say 7 to 65 to not being online. You will have a very difficult time surviving in your career, in work, at school, because everything is online. So I remember when the pandemic hit and we have to shift from face-to-face to online mode of learning. Many people lost their jobs. Many people had to change and shift careers. Some students stopped going to school. Many were worried. Language teachers celebrated, or should have, if you did not, you should have celebrated. Why? Because this setup is to our advantage. Gone were the days when you go to your classroom with big bags, not only one, you're carrying bags inside, you put your devices, your laptop. If your school does not have readily installed LCD projectors, you have to carry one. You would want your students to be exposed to the spoken language, and so you carry with you your speakers. I have to tell you, going back, speakers were bigger compared to how they're small, how they are now. They're much smaller now. We should have been celebrating. As language educators, we don't just survive. Our goal is not just to survive the current educational landscape, our goal should be to thrive, to flourish. Okay, we have to adapt to the new landscape. If we don't, then there are more people better than us, and so we might lose our job. We have to upgrade and upskill. We have to embrace the fact that we need to upgrade our knowledge of navigating technology, of being online. I must say, not all students are very well versed in navigating technology. Some also are striving. And so you too have to upgrade and upskill. The motto here would be to flourish or to perish. And we don't want the second one. We do not want to perish. We want to thrive. We want to flourish. And so we should know how to make the most out of the current situation. So how do we do this? First, we master the field. A well-prepared and engaging teacher is a catalyst, a spark that creates the desire to learn in students. You have to master the field. You have to master the virtual world. As a teacher, you do not use your age as an excuse. Say, oh, I'm not good at that. I cannot do that anymore. I'm already, I don't know, 50 or I'm almost 60. I'll be retiring soon. Why should I even bother? Well, if you are a language teacher, you should bother. You have to be well prepared. You have to be engaging. And if the platform now is online, say Zoom or Google Meet or whatever have you, then you have to be a master of the field so that you would create a spark in your students, a desire for them to learn with you. Okay, you have to be in control. Why are so many scared of the new normal? Why are people thinking the teachers will soon be replaced by technology? That is because we may not know what to do. And so the best thing to do is know what you're supposed to do, and so that you become in control. And when you are in control, then you cannot just be good. You know that you have to be best. You can't just inform your students, you inspire them because you are in control and you know what you're doing. You can't just teach, you transform them. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing for all teachers, I must say. But of course, also, especially for language teachers, for educators. Be in control. Okay, finally, the resources. Now, I believe I have convinced you of the problem, of the context, of the importance of navigating, okay, the field, of mastering the field. Now let's look at the resources. When we consider the resources we have available, you will realize, that these things were there all the time. Or they are already there. You know that they are there. You just don't know how to use them. Okay, so let's utilize what's under our noses. Let's begin with knowing the features of the online platform. Some of you may be using Google Meet, some are using Zoom. Some institutions have prescribed learning management systems that you're using. Whatever it is, know the features of the online platform. What are common are these things. First, the audio and video. You have to use these features. That is the most common, right? You have the audio and you have the video. Use it to the maximum. Maximize the use of your audio and video. If you are a teacher and you're camera shy, well, you cannot flourish in this digital world. You have to embrace the fact that you have to get used to seeing your face online, to seeing your face Well, there are times when teachers, educators are uncomfortable with just seeing their faces because they cannot see the faces of their students. However, we know that we cannot require, right, all of our students to open their video. Anyhow, we have to learn how to maximize the use of our audio and video. We do not have to be told that we should have the correct devices, okay? Your microphone as much as possible. You would like to have one with a noise canceling, noise reduction feature. For your video, you would want something that would give justice to your features, to your beauty, okay? And you can even use these features in your activity. Second one, the chat box. As you have observed, I have been interacting with you. I'm letting you interact with the talk through the use of the chat box. You can use that in your classrooms too. Chatting. You just have to lay down the rules for chatting. Okay. Screen share is a wonderful feature. I said, gone were the days when you have to carry an LCD projector into your classroom. Okay. Or you may have an installed projector, but then you'd have a hard time because it's malfunctioning. These problems do not exist anymore. You have screen share. Wonderful thing. You can do many things in screen sharing. You can point to the screen. You can annotate. Okay. You can draw something. You can underline, you can highlight, you can point to the part where you want your students to focus. The possibilities are endless. We also have the whiteboard. Okay, now if you're using Zoom, you would easily locate the whiteboard. But for those who are using Google Meet, please know that you also have the whiteboard. It's called Google Jam, something with a jam, okay? There is a whiteboard available for Google Meet users. So whatever platform you are using, be familiar with its features. Breakout rooms. This would work like dividing your class into smaller groups, to pairs, for example. And so you would have everybody talking and you can just visit, pop into one group to another, check on what they're doing, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, okay? Closed captions. I discovered this in Google Meet. And well, at first, when we discovered this, I believe it was fellow faculty members of the university, and we were just having fun with the closed captions. I'll show you later how to use, where to click to activate your closed captions in Google Meet. You can use this in as speech recognition for your students. Okay, I'll show you that later. Next one. Now, that's technology, some of the key features of whatever online platform you're using. Now let me connect that to speaking skills. Okay. According to Safitri, Rafli, and Dewanti in 2020, speaking skills is the most prominent. Would you agree? A yes or a no in the chat box? The most prominent compared to the 3 other language skills. Well, the word prominent there can carry with it different meanings. Prominent in the sense that it's the most scary, or others might say that prominent because whenever you can speak the language well, people would think of you as somebody who's already carrying all the 3 other language skills just because you're a speaker of the language. Okay. Speaking skills is used, or speaking is used to convey ideas, to negotiate meaning, and explore thought. It is very important, right? Moreover, however, speaking is not always easy for our learners, both ESL, English as a second language, and EFL, or English as a foreign language learners. It's not always easy for everyone. In fact, majority might find it the most challenging. Another thing that makes it difficult is that they have limited chances to experience speaking. If you have a class of, say, 30 or 40 or 50, and you have an hour of class, how would you have everybody talk? How would you give them the time, the equal opportunity, equal chances to experience speaking? That's like next to impossibility, you might say, but I'm going to show you that it's not impossible through integration of technology. Okay, so we have to again understand that everything we need is just right under our noses. Let's see what these are. Okay, we say there's little exposure, there are little chances. There are 50 people in your class or 40, and so how can you have everybody speak? Before, this is a true problem. Now, with all the advancement in technology, with the platform that we have in language learning, these have become hoaxes. These problems would not exist anymore only if we know how to integrate and manipulate, navigate technology and use it in our language classes. Technology has made the world smaller, right? We say globalization has made the world smaller. We're like in one neighborhood. And that would mean, number two, that we are already surrounded by native speakers. Immersion, number three, in the natural spoken language has never been easier as it is today. I know people who had to travel to another country just to be immersed in the natural spoken language. Many Korean learners, for example, would go to the Philippines, spend a year, and that's expensive, spend a year to be exposed to the natural spoken language. If they cannot afford America or Canada, they go to the Philippines. It's much cheaper, but I'm telling you, it still is expensive. Now, you don't have to travel. You're surrounded by native speakers because of technology. And so a teacher cannot say anymore that we or our learners have limited opportunities or limited chances. Not at all. Now, before I share with you specific tools, allow me to explain to you that the best way to improve your speaking is by listening. Improving speaking cannot be done by books. It would be like you want to learn how to cook, and so you grab a cookbook, for example, you look at it, open the pages, and then you learn how to cook adobo, for example, a famous dish in the Philippines, and you end up there. You would not know if you actually already know how to cook adobo unless you do it. It's like acting. You want to be a good actress. You grab a book and read about it. You don't go out and do it. That's just unacceptable, right? But that's what we do. We want to improve our speaking. We want our students to improve their speaking skills by giving them the book. How can they do it? They have to do it instead of read about it. And again, now they have access to the native speaker's voice. it's very accessible now. Okay, so again, speaking is done by listening, by doing, by exposing yourself to the natural spoken language, right? And so here are some practical strategies. Learn by chunks. We call them collocations. When you speak in English and say, for example, well, the word say, for example, learn by chunks, that's a collocation. You would not want to stop in the middle of your speech and say, learn with, learn of, learn to, learn in. What should be the right? Have to learn by word pairs or word groups. Okay? Practicing with other people is important. Immersion in the language is very helpful. And this can be done by a lot of ways. For example, videos, podcasts, news broadcasts, interviews, TED Talks, films. Who would not like films, right? These are ways of immersing yourself in the language as a learner. These are ways of immersing your students to the language as teachers. Now, you just have to choose among the many online platforms that you have available, and then consider your classroom design, the activities, and the context. What I'll be showing you are tools, but these tools cannot stand on their own. As I've said, technology cannot replace the teacher. And so you have to know how to integrate these tools into your language classrooms. For learners, you have to know how to use these tools to your advantage. Okay, so I think we're all familiar with the first one. What is that? Let me see if we still have participants interacting in the chat box. Google Meet, wonderful. Okay, Google Classroom, actually, Google Classroom. Okay, and then we have Google Meet, the second one. How about this? We're all in it, and so we should know that the third one is Zoom. We also have, what is this below? Microsoft Teams, okay, Microsoft Teams. It works sort of like the Google Classroom with its own meeting, teleconferencing feature. They also call it Meet. That's already integrated inside Microsoft Teams. Okay, the UMians should know the next one, the orange icon. Okay, LMS, Blackboard LMS, right? So that's Blackboard. And some people use Skype, okay? In fact, there are many. So if you have a platform that you're using that are not on the screen, you may want to share that to us by typing it in the chat box. What other platforms do you use in your language classrooms that are not mentioned? Are there any, or oh yes, Class In, right? My second grade son is using Class In. It's also a wonderful platform. Yes, Class In, okay. Others, oh, Quipper. All right, correct. Some people also use Quipper. There are many. Edmodo, okay. Schoology, correct. Kahoot is wonderful. Okay, thank you so much. So these are all available. We just have to master its features and maximize the use of these features in the integration into the lessons that we want our students to understand, integrate it into our classroom. And so we have our students speak and use the language. Okay. This is another interesting app called Woodpecker. It's available in iPhones and in Androids, I believe, Windows. Oh, it's not on Mac. I cannot download it here, but it can be downloaded in iPhones and iPads. Okay, woodpecker learning. Woodpecker is interesting because if you open woodpecker, you'd have yourself looking at this window, where if you look at here, you click that and you have YouTube videos. I think I'm showing it that in the next slide. In this case, you have BBC videos, and you can actually just put a specific website where videos are found. Again, videos are a good way to immerse ourselves, our students, in the natural spoken language. Now, what's good about it? Okay, this is an example of when you choose YouTube tab. So you have there YouTube videos, a lot of them. There's also Netflix, if you look at that, and dictionary. Okay. You can also choose by topic. So if you're interested, I don't know, with talk shows or entertainment, you want to hear or watch about people and vlogs, then you can just choose or search by topics. Once you have successfully chosen a video that you like, it would look like this on the iPad. So you have the video playing there, and then you have here the transcript, okay? Now, if you want to emphasize a specific line, then you just click on that part. For example, it pauses, it repeats that part for you. You may want to copy how it's said by a native speaker, and then you want to hear it again, and you copy it again. Habit formation. You may have a word that you don't understand. You click on the word and it gives you the meaning. It's a wonderful app, right? You're exposed to natural spoken language by native speakers. You have vocabulary. You have structure because you have sentences here. So it's really good. Try it. Again, that is woodpecker. Another is called Speako. Speako is for, of course, for speaking, but you're trained for public speaking. Okay, so if you download Speako in your devices, you have their warm-up activities. But what I'd like you to explore more is the record feature right down below your window. That record feature would allow you to interact with the app, with technology. It asks you questions, you answer those questions without scripts, okay? So that's those questions. Yourself wonderful own use emotion or of a feedback that you'd get if you do the recording feature. So it says your pacing is slow, meaning you have to be faster in your pacing, and so you sound more natural. It counts your fillers. It says, I have one okay? And then it assesses your pausing. So the pausing is good, intonation is monotonous, articulation is unclear, so you have to open your mouth more to emphasize sounds. Your kind of word choice, you use simple words, and so these are available types of words. You see, it's feedback. That's you also, okay, what it does, you situations where or levels where you'd like to go. So for individual learners, you might say, I think I'm a beginner, so I'm gonna click beginner. It gives you specific activities that is right for your level. Okay, in the classroom, you have 50 students in your class with varied levels. You cannot address each level. And so technology helps you with that. And this is one possible way. I love speech recognition apps. And if I may go back, I think that's on my next slide. If I may go back to closed caption in Google Meet, it's like a speech recognition feature, okay? One is called Dictate, but I think there are a lot in your app store or in your, what do you call it for Windows? There are a lot of apps for speech recognition. What's good about speech recognition is you will know if you said the word correctly, because if you said it correctly, then your device will transcribe it correctly. And you realize that you may not be opening your mouth very well. And so instead of saying, when you say for example, good morning, it just captured good. For example, okay, there can be a lot of possibilities with speech recognition apps, and you can use that in your classroom. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, closed captioning feature in Google Meet. So what you just do is you turn it on, and this is what you see on your screen. Now, you have to tell your students that they have to turn on their closed captioning feature too, so that they also see the captions. So you may give your students, for example, dialogues to practice with, and they say it, of course, during your teleconference, and see if the caption was correct, if the speech was recognized correctly. That's closed captioning feature. How do you turn that on? You actually see this icon. CC means closed caption, or you may use the more option, and you find it right there. Okay. You may also want, still for speech recognition, you can actually do it in Google Docs. You just, instead of typing, you go to tools and click voice typing. You can do this in class, or as a learner, you can do this on your own, where what you do is you click that and then you start talking and Google Docs types it for you. And again, you will see if you pronounced the word correctly, because the software will get what you said if you said it right. Okay. All right, these are some of the works cited, but I'm not about to end yet, just a little bit more. I'm going to show you, those are apps, all right? There are also websites, links that are useful. So again, I'll be sharing my screen. So what you're seeing, don't worry about the links. I'll be sending the link after my talk in the chat box so that you'll have a copy of these links. So you have the digitalteacher.com is a very useful resource for teachers. You will be given training and you can just choose various topics that you'd like. And because it's about digital teaching, and so it gives you resources as to how you can navigate Another one is called the Cambridge.org, but you'd like to specifically go, if you're a teacher, to Teaching English. Okay, and you'll find resources for teachers. And you explore this, and you have a lot of things that you can use for your classroom. You just explore that. They even give you free materials. All right. Now, if you are a student, a learner, or if you're somebody like me who would love to keep on learning, then on the same site, you just go to Learning English. I have that already opened here. You click that, and you are led to this part. Okay. Now, you can search, and this is really wonderful. Teachers can also use them in their classes. You know your students' level. And so say, for example, we want to improve on speaking, right? And as we've learned earlier, we learn speaking by listening. And so we take these two skills. Level, most of our students are either independent or proficient. Let's just say independent. We would not want to limit our search with the length of the activity, so we'll leave it as that. We go down here, and that's your result. You have, for example, learning to dialogues. Again, you have share screen, okay? So you just share your screen on whatever platform you're using. You click start. Or it's taking a while, but then instruction, read the question, then listen and choose the correct picture. So you click continue. Again, the instruction says, read the question first. Okay, where does the man suggest going on holiday? I want you to experience it, and so I'll click listen.
Are we going on holiday to the seaside again this year, Dad?
Actually, how do you fancy visiting Uncle Matt? He's got a boat we can go out on the lake on. I had thought about going camping in the countryside, but our tent's getting a bit old now. And so am I.
Okay, let's see your answers. Where does the man suggest going on a holiday? Let me just go to the chat box. Is it the first picture, the beach? Second picture is the field. Is that a field? Or on the lake with a boat? Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot see the chat this time. What's most of their answers? Oh, the third picture. Okay, so let's check if you got the answer correctly. All right, now there will be times when you get it wrong, for example, and so it says wrong, and so you have to try again. Or you might just want your students to go on. For example, you want them to view the text and they do the dialogues themselves after a model dialogue was given. That's even more wonderful. Okay, so that's for cambridgeenglish.org learning. Okay, another thing for teachers, okay, for teachers, futurelearn.com. It works like Coursera and edX and what have you. But I am showing you futurelearn.com specifically because of one course that I'll be showing you later. So in futurelearn.com, this is part of your upskilling and upgrading, okay? You can just choose any topic you like. You can study for free, okay? And one specific useful course they have is teaching English online. I highly recommend this. They show you useful strategies, tools, and many other things so that you can master the field. All right. Next, canva.com. I'm loving Canva. I used Canva for my slides earlier. So it's not only for presentation, you can create videos, posters, social media contents, many other things that will make your classroom, say Google Classroom, your announcements will be more attractive to your students. Your virtual classroom will be more appealing to them. And so you're encouraging them to take technology as a vital part of the learning process. That's canva.com. We also have thinglink.com. You have to make an account, but it's for free. Okay, just explore how it's done. There are tutorial videos in it. When you go to, this is as an example of an output using ThingLink. So you have here train station, all right? Train station in London, I suppose. So you can see different icons all over the screen. You just put your mouse over it. For example, here, this seems to be a coffee shop, right? You put your mouse over it and it plays the audio.
Can I help you today?
Could I get 2 Americanos and a blueberry muffin, please?
Are you staying in or taking it?
Take away, please.
Yeah, sure.
Well, in that specific example, that is just one part of this output, and you already have them exposed to specific use of the language. Okay, so you contextualize language, you expose them to the natural spoken language. Over here.
Hello there, can I get 4 first-class stamps, please?
Certainly, sir. Here you are.
Perfect, thank you. Do you do cashback as well? £10.
Okay, that's for buying something from a newspaper stand and many other things. Okay, that's for thinglink.com. Next, I love Uglish. Uglish.com works so interestingly. You just put there, for example, a word you'd like to learn. I don't know, I'm thinking about my dissertation like almost all the time. So let's key in dissertation. Many people say dissertation. How should it be said? Let's click on that. And then it shows you videos where the word dissertation is used by native speakers, okay? And it comes with the transcript down there.
Study on these programs is divided between a taught component and a dissertation. The taught component consists of 120 credits worth of courses which run during semester 1, and study on these programs is divided between a taught.
Okay, you didn't get it the first time, so you just click replay, and then, or you go to the next video. You want to copy how it's the sentence, so on and so forth. Everything is possible. We also have here eslvideo.com. Okay, eslvideo.com. You can choose the levels also. Okay, let's have an example. For example, you have here, there is a video and then there are questions your students can answer. If you have, or if you sign up, then you can see, you can have your students check their work and send you their score. Isn't that great? Why don't we try it? Okay, let's see. Maybe we can have one from the audience to answer. This part here might be too easy, so let's go right here. There is a vocabulary, a gap fill, okay? Using the correct word in the correct place. So you have the words in there, and then the first line saying several months ago, a highly infectious, sometimes deadly, blah, blah, blah. I'll have, okay, I'm not a native speaker. I want my student to hear it via the native speaker's voice. And so I'll be clicking the video. But before that, maybe we can have, how about Miss Donna Bella Corias. Let's have you try it. Can we check if Donna is already unmuted? Is she? No, she's not. She might need the help of our technical team. I'll go back to that in a while when Donna is ready. Here is another wonderful link that you can use, lyricstraining.com. We have a lot of students who love learning through music, and you can use that, okay? Exposing them, immersing them in the native speaker's voice through songs. So you can just choose a song. You would not want to choose, for example, Just the Way You Are. Everybody knows the lyrics already. You might want to choose something else. For example, say this, I get where I'm going. I'm not even familiar with it. And so the less familiar your student is, by the way, we're doing intermediate level, the better for them. And so they really practice their hearing skills. You just click that. You don't have to create a free account. That's wonderful. You just click maybe later, and then it plays. Okay, so if you can see, you will have the lyrics down here, and then it will have blanks. Your students will have to click on the correct word. Or if you are an individual learner, you might want to do this. It's a very fun activity. Okay, and then it shows your score right here. You have 66 gaps to fill, how many hits and how many fails you did in the process. Lastly is Vocaroo.com. It's basically just a recording link, okay? But what it does, it records your voice, and it will already have, after recording, an option where you can send your output to your teacher via a link, for example. And so it makes submission and transferring of output easier. But there are a lot of other ways to record. Our students are so good at recording their voices, even videos of themselves. I love doing that in my classes where students record themselves through video. And so I see them, they speak, they use their hands, they use their facial expressions, so on and so forth. These are only some. I wonder if Donna is already unmuted. No, still not. That's fine. But anyway, so you can have the liberty to navigate on all of these available resources. They're all under your noses. You just have to master the field and know how to integrate these technological advancement to your language classes. As a learner, just know how to maximize all of these to make your learning better, to improve your skills, especially in speaking. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. All right, so I think that's it for me. I hope that you learned something. And yes, good afternoon. Terima kasih.
Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the substantial discussion of Associate Professor Precious Moncal. Wow, surely we learned a lot from the sharing of our resource speaker this afternoon. We learned not only effective teaching strategies, but also specific technologies that we can incorporate in our language pedagogy, may it be face-to-face or virtual. Now, this portion, before we proceed to the awarding of the certificate to our resource speaker, let us listen first to the response or feedback coming from the Vice Dean for Academic Affairs of UBJ Indonesia, Dr. Wichitra Yasya. A round of virtual applause, please.
Kelihatan nggak? Kelihatan kok, Bu? Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone who attend today's international collaboration series. My regards to Dean of College of Arts and Sciences Education, University of Mindanao, Dr. Christine Marie Concepcion, and the Head of English Program and our resource person for today, Associate Professor Precious Moncal, and our host, the Director of Institute of Languages, Dr. Michael Demi Aperejo, and deans, students, lecturers, and all faculty of UM and UBJ. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to give maybe a short reaction of Dr. Mongkal's presentation, and it's a very insightful presentation about improving English skill through technology, enhanced language learning. And although using technology for language learning has been applied for quite some time. It's been developed for some time, but now it's inevitable, right? That we apply this, we use this because of the condition. We are in the middle of the pandemic, and I think Dr. Mongkal already summarized the very useful digital platforms that we can use when we are studying or learning language, and some of it I think we already use, but some of it, most of it are new. So I think it will be exciting and interesting for me to try it, to apply it to my classes. So I'm going to give just a short presentation as a reaction to our resource person's presentation. Based on my experience giving or teaching English for bachelor and master students. And as disclaimer, I am not an English major or lecturer. My background is communication science, but I've been teaching English in the Faculty of Communications and Faculty of Social Science and Politics, since we do have our English for specific purposes in our curriculum. So I'm just going to give a short overview on the things that we have done here. So maybe please, presentation. Okay. So these are some of the things that we have done. Next. To facilitate English learning. So first, I think we should try to know our students, try to know what their needs are when especially in language learning. So it's probably a bit different than if we are, for example, I teach communication. So when I'm teaching other communication courses, then when I'm teaching English, it's a bit different. For English, I always try to make it tailor-made to their needs. While on the other hand, we also have our course learning outcomes to be achieved. And as our research person said, listening is very important, and engaging with social media, because this is one thing that our Generation Z is the thing that defines them is their use of social media. So we have to also incorporate that in our learning and try to make it personal. And then, of course, the use of role plays can also be important. And we can still use that even though we are not in a face-to-face setting. Next. Okay, so at the beginning of the class, I always try to make a short survey on the students' needs. And of course, because the last few 1 year, 2 years, we are in a pandemic, so I can easily gain these data from Google Forms, so I can I know what their basic English competence is. So this is on our last class's survey. So as I mentioned before, the purpose of this survey is to create a tailor-made class to make sure that each student gains personal competence while fulfilling the course learning outcomes. So this means that if I teach 3 classes, so probably they will be at different paces, because the students are probably at different paces, because we don't set up the classes to their competence. For example, we make the advanced students in a different class than the basic students. So there are only the one class. So that's why I need to know each class's level of competence before I can do the teaching. So, but this is almost the same, same results every year, is that they think that listening is quite hard. So they think listening was the skill with least reported competence, and they perceive speaking, presentation, and listening as the most difficult thing to learn when learning English. So this is why we focus on speaking. It's very important, because as Professor Monkal said, that if you are able to speak, of course, that means you have quite good competence as well for the other skills, right? Next. And so what I focus on when we teach English is we enhance the listening first. Yeah, because there's a saying that we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth, because listening is twice as hard as speaking, right? So, but this is the interestingly, this is the one thing. I mean, it's important, but usually in high school English curriculum, it's not very emphasized. Yeah, because previously I think the teachers have this barrier that, you know, when you practice listening, you have to use this technology, right? You have to have a speaker, or maybe you have to have a language lab. So if you don't have them, it's hard to practice listening. But of course, now with technology, everyone can access these listening tools at their fingertips. As our previous presentation already showed, there are a lot of websites, a lot of digital platforms where you can practice this. So I think it's the thing that we have to make our students or ourselves realize, that we acquire the language, naturally through listening first. Like when we are like a baby, we learn to listen first, and we can learn to speak, and we can learn to read and write. So why don't we use the same analogy or the same strategy when we are learning a foreign language? Yeah, so I get the students to listen to a lot of videos or audio to improve their speaking. Next. And the next is engaging with social media. Yeah, so I think all of our students already have social media, and why don't we use that to our advantage? Like for reading and writing, we get them to read social media posts and captions, or we motivate them to, you can just learn English through, maybe you read your favorite celebrities' captions and try to understand what they mean. And for example, this is an assignment where I get them to read Humans of New York posts, and they have to make a summary of the post that they read, what the story is about, because they're all like interesting and motivating humanitarian stories that I think it's will be useful for them to read. And I get them to read on YouTube for TED Talks, yeah, or watch Netflix and so forth. So engaging social media makes them be able to understand, oh, I can use social media to learn. So it's not just for escapism, not just for entertainment, but also for learning purposes. Next. Okay, the next is I try to get them to talk more about themselves, because talking about what you know makes you more comfortable, because the goal here is for them to speak. So if we give them a difficult topic, it might make them also difficult to try to convey what they are trying to say. But if we give them the topic that is close to their lives, then it will be easier for them to speak, because the goal is for them to speak and not for comprehension on the topic. So that they can be more confident. And also it exercises empathy on the lecturer's part. So we know more about our students. We know about maybe what hardships they face during the pandemic. So if we know more about their condition, of course, that will be a good thing, and they will feel that they are heard. They will feel that we care about them, which is very important. Next. Okay, and also role playing is also something that I think all English learning apply. Yeah, so role playing, usually I make an job interview simulation, because getting a job in English, such as interview CVs and so forth, is one of our learning outcomes that we study. And because during the pandemic, we just get them to record a video of their interview, and also simulation of anchor challenge on TikTok, where they give a text from the teleprompter and they have to read the news that is being read, because one of our study program is broadcasting. So this is one of the competence that they have to know, they have to achieve as well. And also pitching ideas, where they have to do a presentation pitching, which is also an important competence in communication science. So this is an example of the interview simulation. I can play the video.
Of the year. If I am accepted here, I will bring and even develop that ability to manage this company's target. I'm going to give a simple news. The emergence of new COVID-19 variant is expected to weigh on Indonesia's economic recovery and may cause the government to miss its target of growth between 4.5 and 5.3% this year. The government reported on Monday that
Yes, so that's just a short example of how we can apply technology in our learning, which is inevitable that now we have to use this technology. I think that's all for my experience, and maybe I would want to ask for a resource person based on what I already explained. As I mentioned before, that we have all this technology to make the students learn, and it's also focused on learner-centered learning. Like the technology that you mentioned. I think, but the difficulties that we face as lecturers is how to maintain the student motivation to make them want to learn this, outside of the school hours, so that they can have more control of what they want to learn, because this is like learner-centered. If you don't, because English, if you don't practice a lot, of course, it's hard for you to achieve or improve the skills. And I think it's the thing that we have to work on is maybe how to maintain the student motivation to learn English, because we have all this technology and they just have to use it. They can use it at any time, but how to make them want to use this, I think it's the challenge for us. That maybe you have some insight or ideas on how to overcome that. I think that's all that I can say for this opportunity. Thank you very much, and I hope it's also useful. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yasia, for that comprehensive response to the presentation of our resource speaker for this afternoon. Truly, our participants have learned a lot from this afternoon's session. And at this point, let us award our speaker and our reactor their certificates of appreciation. So let me read the citation first. So first one is the Certificate of Appreciation for our resource speaker. University of Mindanao, Philippines and Universitas Bayangkara, Jakarta Raya, Indonesia award this Certificate of Appreciation to Professor Precious T. Mongcal for sharing her time and wisdom as the resource speaker during the University of Mindanao and Universitas Bayangkara, Jakarta Raya, Indonesia International Collaborative Lecture Series entitled Improving Speaking Skills Through Telling via Zoom Webinar, given this 31st of August 2021, signed by the President of the University of Mindanao, Dr. Guillermo P. Torres Jr., and the Rector of Universitas Bayangkara, Jakarta Raya, Dr. Doctorantes Bambang Carsono. Let's give our resource speaker a round of virtual applause, please.
Thank you. Pleasure and honor is mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Precious Mongcal. And we would like also to award the same Certificate of Appreciation for our reactor this afternoon, Dr. Wichitra Yasia. Thank you very much, Dr. Yasia.
Thank you.
Okay. Of course, we would not end this learning opportunity without having the open forum. So once again, we thank our Associate Professor Precious Mongcal for sharing her insights regarding how to incorporate technology in language learning. So at this portion, we will be having the open forum. So I have already taken a screenshot of all the questions posted here in the chat box, and as well as I think there are 2 questions posted in the Q&A section of our platform. So let me begin with the first question coming from Dr. Lucia Sulastri. Talking about improving English is a very important topic. We know that the main problem is to find the perfect person whose English skills are the same as a native speaker. So how do we solve this problem? Our speaker, Ma'am Precious.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Michael. Okay, before I address the question of Dr. Solastri, I'd like to go back to the question raised by Dr. Wichitra Yasha earlier about how to maintain the motivation of our students, especially that they're only an hour or so inside our classroom and we're not with them when they get out of the classroom. I am a believer of the power of the teacher. And so I think that for us to keep the motivation burning, the teacher should also maintain his or her motivation in the monitoring of the students' progress, in encouraging them, reminding them about what they have to be done. And I think also teachers have to clearly define the goals for the students. And so they would know what they are supposed to achieve. How far are they already? Some students would lose their motivation because they don't know if they are doing things right. Because sometimes teachers would just give them the instruction and then they're on their own. They don't know if, was that correct? Should I improve? Which part should I be working more on? Things like this. So it really is up to the teacher, monitoring, clearly defined goals. Thank you for that, Dr. Wichitra Yasha. Now going to the question by Dr. Lucia Sulastri. There is no perfect person. There is nobody perfect, especially for us who are second language speakers of English. And so we have to exploit the technology available, exposing our students to the native language to the voice of the native speaker through the ways that I have shared earlier, through integration of videos, for example, audio by the native speaker. And then we can just add more about the exercises, guide the students as to how they can benefit from all of these resources. We have to accept that as teachers, we too aren't perfect. You know, even native speakers, they're not perfect, specifically in grammar. Okay, we would understand that. You go back to your native language and tell me, say for example, for Bisaya, among our audience, can you even give me 1, 2, 3 rules in your native language? That's difficult. Okay, so yeah, nobody can perform it correctly. And so we just have to get more and more resources, expose our students, not only to one, not only to you as a teacher, but to many other resources in terms of sound, natural sound of the target language.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Precious. So one takeaway there is that we cannot tell that there's someone who is really as perfect as a native speaker, because native speakers themselves also find teaching the English language difficult at times. Okay, let's proceed now to the second question coming from Ubara Jaya. This is from, Ari Reski Senaki is staff from Faculty of Law, Bayangkara University. The question states that EFL learners have to be able to gain the 4 skills of the English language, but mostly they fail to master all the 4 skills. In your opinion, which skill is more challenging for EFL learners, and why do you think so? Ma'am Precious?
Okay, indeed, Ari, indeed, it is very difficult, challenging to master one, what more mastering all? Okay, well, first, if you are an educator, you have to tell yourself that in a semester, in one term, for example, of that student's enrollment in your course, you cannot expect him or her to master all of these skills, but at least improve. From level 1, for example, he would become level 2 after the term or after the semester. Among the 4 skills, I think these would be the productive skills. Receptive skills are easier. Receptive, like listening and reading, are easier. Productive skills, where you have to produce language, for example, speaking and writing, they are more challenging compared to the other 2. Now, as to which among the 2 is more difficult or more challenging, that really depends on the inclination of every individual. Some people are introverted, and so they would have the comfort behind the pen and the paper, for example, and they would say speaking is more difficult or speaking is more challenging. Other people also would recognize how difficult it is to write, because when in speaking, when you commit an error, you're forgivable because the activity is spontaneous. In writing, however, you have to correctly structure whatever you have to say with the correct grammar, correct vocabulary, proper diction, and all that. So yeah, those productive skills are more challenging to our learners.
Okay. So I think the teaching of these productive skills has become more difficult, even more difficult considering the online pedagogy that we have. Let's proceed now to the next question coming from Arnold Julian from University of Bayangkara. Ma'am Precious, please give us tips on how we could better understand listening activities in English, because listening is really difficult for people who are not native speakers of the English language.
I feel you, Arnold Julian. That is true, and that is a common struggle among learners. Okay, how can you improve in your listening? And you know, when you improve in your listening, you also improve in speaking. And so you would really like to improve your listening. It's really just exposing yourself more and more to the target language, to English, for example. Grab every opportunity to expose yourself to the natural sound of the English language, videos, Netflix. If these are things that you do say almost every day we find ourselves in YouTube, for example. And so you might want to choose videos in English. If you're used to, let's say, having the captions turned on, then you might also want to try next time turning it off. And so it improves your speaking, not only your reading skills while you're, following the subtitle. So basically, it's really exposing yourself more and more to the target language.
Okay, so I think we should head to the last question. I'm sorry, there are still other questions which could not be catered to by our resource speaker due to some time constraints. But don't worry, later on, I'll be posting the email address of our speaker should you want to personally ask the question to her. So we'd like to ask this question coming from Dinar Solis-Chiwati. She would like to ask how to teach online in an attractive way so that it attracts students' interest in learning. I think this has also something to do with the third question in the Q&A regarding the most fun way to teach English.
Okay, there are a variety of ways. Again, your imagination is the limit. You just have to master the field. You have to know the resources available and be able to navigate effectively using these platform resources that you have. How do you make it more attractive to your students? I think Dr. Yasha shared that earlier. You have to know your students, okay? And so that you know their interests, you know their level, for example, the profile, age group, and so you know their interests, and that's how you're going to present your content in such a way that would be appealing to them. Again, maximum use of technology integrated to your classroom. You can use all of those things that I have shared with you. Of course, you'll have to get familiar with them first, and then you will see how wonderful your classroom will be.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma'am Precious. That concludes our open forum session. I know that you still have a lot of questions in mind, but due to some time constraints, we will be limiting our questions this time. But don't worry, I have already sent the email address of our speaker. It's abenglish@ubindanao.edu.ph. Should you have more questions, you may send the questions directly to her through this email. Okay, so that ends our open forum. And please do not forget also to accomplish the evaluation form for your e-certificate. So we will be providing e-certificates to all our attendees this afternoon. So the link is this one. So I've already sent the link. Please give me a go signal as well, or please signal me as well if the link does not work, but I think it should work. Okay. So the link is already there in the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen, to all our participants, our attendees, and our panelists, this online lecture made all of us realize how innovativeness is of paramount importance considering the pedagogical adjustments, the teaching ecology, and the incessant desire for academic growth. But let us not also discount the fact that student motivation also plays a pivotal role in effective online pedagogy. Let us all remember that no pandemic can stop us from moving mountains in the field of education, specifically in language pedagogy. At this juncture, let us have a quick photo documentation first. I am requesting all panelists to open their videos. So I'm requesting the delegation from UBJ and our speaker, of course, our dean from UM is here. Okay, so I think I'll be the one to take the photo now. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so I think there's a problem with the link sent. So maybe our okay, so I think the form will work now. So we have already refreshed the link. Okay, there, good. Okay. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we have finally reached the end of our online event. To officially close this program, let us hear the closing remarks of the Dean of Communication Faculty, UBJ Indonesia. Let us all welcome Dr. Ann Widodo. Dr. Widodo?
Thank you, Dr. Demi. Good afternoon all. Honorable to Head of Cooperation and International Office Bapak Suhardi PSDM team, Vice Dean Academic Vkom Ubarajaya, Dr. Wicitra, and a lecturer and student from Faculty of Communication and Ubarajaya and Binana University. Honorable to the Dean of Art and Science Education, Dr. Christine Mari, Director Institute of Language, Dr. Feris Mongkal, and the host, Dr. Maiko Demi. And all the Dean of Ubarajaya in Mindanao University, lecturer and student. Thank you for your watching the webinar series with the theme improving speaking skill telling. This webinar is a 7 series of the international collaboration between Ubarajaya and Mindanao University. I think this webinar is very interesting theme. Prof. Mongkel say language capabilities become English especially is important. English capabilities support by technology, support can be seen integrated in classroom and support by curriculum. And Wichitra say that learn in English, so we can using social media and learn to how to empathic to participant to learn English. I mean that's true. Today, communication with support the technology and social media. Start from a personal relationship until communication in many contexts. Especially during pandemic, make use more to technology and social media, searching information, video calling, maybe until we can stalking in social media. In the learning process, language capabilities can be improved from the cooperation of lecturers and students, and social media can support the learning process. We can use the learning management system among other Google Classroom, Google Zoom, Google Meet, and many more. In Ubarajaya, the improvement of language skill student begin when start from the implementation of the TOEFL test for new students. Study in English course for 2 semester, opening and implementation of English course and development of international class, program English day, and other activity including learning assessment using YouTube and social media many more. Ladies and gentlemen, this activity is a collaborative activity from University Bayangkara Jakarta Raya continues and University of Mindanao. This activity has been running for more 6 times. I hope this cooperation activities continue to strengthen. Ubarajaya and Mindanao University can grow together. Thank you for to all participants. I hope this activity can be useful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Widodo. Once again, a million thanks to our host school, the College of Arts and Sciences Education, University of Mindanao, and of course, the partner school, Universitas Bayangkara Jakarta Raya, Indonesia. To all our participants in this online platform, thank you so much for your full participation, your active cooperation in this afternoon session. Definitely, you will have to look forward to the next lecture to be hosted by both institutions. This has been your host, Maiko Deme Biaperocho from the University of Mindanao, reminding you all to keep safe and stay positive. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Precious.
Terima kasih.
Iya, makasih. Terima kasih.